Okay, question number 3 is asking you to find the area of each cross section. The key word here is find the area of the cross section. So you have to look at each of these questions and then realize, well, what shape is the cross section actually going to be? So for number 3, they've given you this pyramid that's been sliced by this plane. This rectangular shape is a plane. If they sliced it, what shape did it make in here for the cross section of that? It's a triangle. So you've got this triangle. And in the problem it says, a square pyramid cut through the vertex and perpendicular to the base with a base length of 4 feet. So in the pyramid, the base length of the bottom is going to be 4 feet. Okay, so that's 4 feet across the bottom. But then it said it had a height of what? A height of 6. So that means that the distance from the top of the pyramid to the base is going to be 6 feet. So if you were to draw a dotted line in here, this would be 6. If I was to transfer that over to the triangle I've drawn over here, what's the length right here on this triangle? It's 4, which would mean that this is the height, and how long is that? So the question is, what is the area of that cross section? So they're really just asking us to find the area for the triangle. So area equals 1/2 base times height. Well, the picture and the problem told us that the base is 4 feet, and then the height for that triangle is 6 feet. So you know 6 times 4 is 24. Half of that is 12. And since it's area, it's in square feet. Now on number 3, I don't know, but surely you know the formula for the area of a triangle. Work on remembering it. Whoever has the phone, I've asked you all at least 4 times, turn it off. It's not mine. Mine is on silent. All right, for part B, we have a sphere. And the sphere has a diameter of 10 inches, but it's been cut. What's the cross section once that thing has been cut?
Circle.
The cross section is a circle. So, circle. If the diameter for the sphere is 10 inches, what's going to be the diameter for the circle? My question was the diameter. Okay, the diameters for the circle will be 10, but the radius of the circle will be what? Okay, so that will be 5 inches for the radius of the circle. The question is, what is the area for that cross section? So you're going to be finding the area of the circle. The formula for area of a circle is what? So that's pi times 5 squared. And you can leave it at 25 pi square inches. Uh-oh, I forgot my pi, sorry. 25 pi square inches. If you have to do it as a decimal, if it's a multiple choice question and they give you a decimal answer, then you just multiply it out, and if I'm not mistaken, that's about 78.5. Is everybody clear on that? All right, what I don't want you to do is look at it like, oh, it's a sphere, and just start finding the volume of a sphere. Because somebody's going to do that. You got to read what they're asking for. They simply said find the area of the cross section. So just be careful, read the question, and answer what they want.
I hate this M, bro. Wait, yo, I hate this.
Question number 4. Which formula could be used to determine the radius and the center of the circle? Now, for this one, you got 2 different things you need to find. They want the radius, which is the length of the radius, and they also are asking for the coordinate of the center of the circle. Now, this one is pretty simple. It's actually in a coordinate plane, and if you look at it, you can tell where the center is. Where is that center? Okay, the center is at about right here. And the coordinate for that point,
-5, 4.
okay, so -5, 4, and I'm gonna call that M for right now. Now, here's the thing. They gave you the coordinates for the diameter. And since they've already given the coordinates of the diameter, if you realize that that's the diameter, then you know the center of the circle is actually the midpoint of that segment. Does that make sense? So, they gave you the coordinates of the endpoints. The midpoint of that segment is also the center of the circle. So, just for practice, let's talk about that midpoint formula again. We just said, to find the coordinate for the midpoint, you're going to do what with the x's?
Add them.
Add your x's and?
Divide by 2.
Exactly. Add your x's, divide by 2. Then what do you do with the y's?
Add your y.
Okay, so let's do that. We're going to find the coordinate for that midpoint quickly because we know we simply add the x's and divide by 2, add the y's and divide by 2. So when I look at the x's, what are they?
-8 and -2.
So we got -8 plus -2, and we're going to divide that by 2, comma. Let's go ahead and do the y's. We're going to do the same thing.
2 plus 6.
All right, so 2 plus 6 divided by 2. So you add the y's from here, okay? When I add -8 plus -2, that's, Yeah. yeah, -10 over 2 and
-8 divided by 2.
8 divided by 2. -10 over 2 equals,
-5.
Over 4.
and then 8 over 2 is
Would it
4.
be -4 or just positive?
It's a positive.
Okay, sometimes you switch the signs.
So the center is at -5, 4. Now, they also ask us for the radius. When they ask for the radius in this problem, they're really asking for the distance from the midpoint or the center of the circle to one of those points on the circle. Doesn't matter which one you do, you can find the distance from point M to C, or you can find the distance from M to D. Either way, it's the same length because every radius is the same. So which one do you want to do? The distance from C to M or from D to M?
C to M.
Okay. All right, so if I'm,
Can you find the distance between D and C and then divide by 2?
yes, you can. The question was, can you find the distance from D to C and then divide by 2? Yes, you can, because the distance from D to C is the length of the diameter. The radius is just half of that. So yes, that's a good question.
So wait. Yeah, oh.
Okay, so now, if I want to find, you said from C to M, so C is at -8, 2, and M is at -5, 4. You want my jacket? Can you adjust that a little bit? Move it a little more to the You always have, but we can't get it. Where is it?
It was already in there.
Did you move it just a little to the rear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, they put it all in red so we can burn up.
All right, so now, these are the 2 points that we're going to use to find the distance from C to M, or the length of our radius. Remember your distance formula. All right, the distance formula, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And then you're going to plug in. All right, so my first, my second x is,
Wait, what did you say?
remember you got x1, y1, x2, y2,
Oh, yeah.
okay? My second x is what?
Negative.
So I have -5 minus -8. Don't forget that, 'cause it'll mess you up. Okay, so it's -5 minus -8 squared plus
4 minus 2.
4 minus 2 squared. All right, now this -5 minus -8 is the same thing as -5 plus 8. What is -5 plus 8? What is -5 plus 8? It's 3, so you got 3 squared
I thought, oh,
plus 4 minus 2 is 2, and we're gonna square that. 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4. Add them. You have the square root of 13, and this can be left as the square root of 13, or get the decimal for it. What is the decimal value for the square root of 13?
I got 3.6.
Okay, it's approximately 3.6. Okay, so that would be your radius. Either one of these, the square root of 13 or 3.6 is acceptable as an answer for your radius.
So if we don't put the decimal,
That's fine, as long as, if it's, obviously if it's a multiple choice question and they've got 3.6, then you need to do the 3.6. But if it's free response, just an open-ended question like this, if you put the square root of 13, that's fine. If you put 3.6, that's fine. Okay.
you put probably on the average.
To be honest.
Next problem. For number 5, it asks for the midpoint of segment JL. And it says M is the midpoint of segment JL, and N is the midpoint of segment JK. So for part A, they want the coordinates of M and the coordinates of N. Well, remember, M is the coordinate for the midpoint of segment JL. So we're going to focus on this segment right here. I want the midpoint of that segment. Let's do this quickly in our heads, because you know what to do. Yes, sir. All right, you're going to add your x's and then divide by 2.
So -5 plus 3.
All right, so to get M, you are going to add the -5 plus 3. What is -5 plus 3? Come on, -5 plus 3 and divide by 2. So that's going to be -2. Excuse me. Okay, so that's going to be for your x's. We'll simplify it in just a second. Then to get the y part of that, you're adding the y's. So that's going to be 4 plus 8.
So 12 divided by
All right, so to get your coordinate for M, -2 divided by 2 is what?
1.
What kind of 1?
Negative.
So -1, and then 12 divided by 2, 6. So your coordinate for point M is going to be -1. So you go over -1 and go up to 6. So M is at -1, 6. All right, then you have to do the same thing for N. So for N, to get N, you're going to use JK. So you're using this over here. Add your x's. 3 plus 7 is 10 divided by 2.
Why are we using JK for A?
Because here it tells you it says N is the midpoint of segment JK. Okay, so we have 3 plus 7 is 10, and so we have 10 over 2. Now let's go ahead and add the y's. 8 plus 2 is, so again, another 10 divided by 2. N is going to be at 5, 5. So if you come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You end up approximately somewhere around here. My board is a little bit off, but
You put the everything?
okay. So N is 5, 5.
See, five's not on the point. Oh, you got no mind.
Okay. So now we're finished with part A. We found M is at -1, 6. and n is 5, 5. So these are the answers for part A. Now, for part B, it says determine the length of segment MN and segment LK. Well, first of all, MN is this segment right here. I gotta excuse me again, my board is a little off with the calibration, but we want the length of that segment. What can you use to find the length of that segment? You're gonna use the distance formula again. Now, let's see, can we do that very quickly? The distance from M to N is gonna be found using the distance formula. X2 minus X1 squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared, just like the one we did in number 4.
Wait, you got what's
M and N, because they want the length of segment MN, so we use the endpoints of that segment. Okay, so my second X value,
is 5.
so I'm gonna have 5 minus, what's the first X value?
4. What was it?
It's a negative
Oh,
one.
negative.
Okay, so 5 minus negative 1 squared plus, do the same thing with the Y's,
5.
5 minus okay, 5 minus negative 1 is the same thing as 5 plus 1. So 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 squared equals, you know what, let me not skip a step. Let's just go ahead and do 6 squared plus 5 minus 1 is,
4.
I didn't mean 1. 5 minus 6, my fault. 5 minus 6 is negative 1 squared. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got that from, but anyway. So 6 squared is,
36.
all right, so we have the square root of 36 plus negative 1 squared is 1. So we end up over here with the square root of 37. And what is the square root of 37? Decimal value, please. Well, you know,
6.1.
So-
1.
okay, so about 6.1. That's the approximate value. That means that the distance from M to N is approximately 6.1. Now, I'm going to save you some steps. If you remember last semester, we actually talked about mid-segments last semester. We said mid-segment does 2 things. It's parallel to the third side, and it's half the length of the third side. So in this case, segment MN is 6.1. Well, MN is also a mid-segment because it's connecting the midpoint of 2 sides of a triangle. So that means that this segment is going to be parallel to segment LK, and MN is going to be half the length of LK. So if MN is 6.1, what's going to be the length of LK?
12.2.
It's 12.2. It's twice as long as MN. Okay, so now I don't even have to do any work. I know that side LK is twice as long as the mid-segment.
Wait, so you just added 6
I just multiply it times 2. You can add it if you need to, but it's the same as multiplying it by 2. Okay, so we're done with part B now. The last thing we need to do is find the slope of segment MN and segment LK. Okay, so to find the slope, the formula for slope,
Y2 minus Y1 divided by X2.
okay, so there's your formula for slope. Y2 minus Y1 divided by X2 minus X1. Now they want the slope of segment MN, so you're going to use the coordinates for M and N.
5.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so the slope of segment MN equals, for M, the coordinates are negative 1, 6, and for N, it is 5, 5. Okay, so now, plugging in, what is going to be my Y2?
5.
5 minus Y1, which is
6.
divided by
5. Minus
now 5 minus 6 is negative 1. 5 minus negative 1 ends up being Right, it becomes a positive, so 5 plus 1 equals 6. So the slope for segment MN is equal to -1/6. Now, I don't want to do any extra work that I don't have to do, so I need to remember this rule. I just told you that MN is a mid-segment. It is parallel to the third side. So if segment MN is parallel to segment LK, do I have to do any more work to figure out that slope? I shouldn't, because what do you know about the slopes of parallel lines? I'm gonna ask that again. What do you know?
Oh, they have the same. What's that word? They have the same slope.
They have the same
Oh, yeah.
slope. So if those lines are parallel, they have the same slope.
She gave it to me like for real.
Hey, give me one there, bro. On my mom, you
Oh.
got me.
They the seals
Saying
my
shit.
spoon.
Stop. Stop. My video is going. So, since MN is parallel to segment LK, they have the same slope. They have the same slope, so the slope of LK is also equal to -1/6. Any questions on this? Any questions on this?
Man,
Hey, wait.